I have the honor now of introducing our president, Dr. Duane Ireland. I use the word honor because Duane is a special human being. Duane makes the word contribution an understatement. Among Duane's contributions are his serving as associate editor for the Academy Management Journal, associate editor for Academy of Management Executive, consulting editor for Entrepreneurship Theory and Practice, editor for the Academy of Management Journal, as a representative at large on the Academy of Management's Board of Governors, serving in all the roles of the Academy's Executive Committee, starting with the Academy's PDW Chair, Program Chair, President-elect, and now President. The high quality of Duane's work has resulted in Duane being named the winner of Best Publication Awards by both Academy of Management Journal and the Academy of Management Executive, being named the University Distinguished Professor at his university, Texas A&M, being named a recipient of Texas A&M's Association of Former Students Distinguished Achievement Award for Research, and being named a fellow by the Academy of Management and Strategic Management Society. Having served with Duane 3 times now, in the early 2000s on the Board of Governors, in the mid-2000s as an associate editor of the Academy of Management Journal, and now on the Executive Committee, I have seen firsthand, consistently, that Duane is a great leader, at least in part because he is a great listener. If you ask Duane which of his many achievements are most important to him, as I did via email earlier this week, Duane will tell you, as his email reply did, and I hope he won't mind I'm reading it verbatim. In all honesty, Deborah, the most important, and in my mind, the most gratifying part of my career revolves around the opportunities to work with great, great people, such as you, board members, staff, and really all Academy members. The collaborative work with which I've been so fortunate to be involved in is what I always remember and will always cherish. It is the networks of supportive and nurturing networks of people that are critically important to me. Please help me give a warm welcome to President Duane Ireland.
Good morning. I want to sincerely thank all of you, those who are participating in their first Academy of Management Conference, those for whom attending this meeting is what you do in August, individuals from our headquarters staff, members of my family who are here today and who have always provided strong support and encouragement to me for attending this general session. Thank you too, Deborah, for your incredibly kind comments. I really appreciate that. While developing this speech, I recalled the first Academy of Management meeting I attended. Interviewing for a job to begin in the fall of 1977 was a primary reason I registered for the Academy of Management meeting that was held in Kansas City at the Crown Center Hotel. Yes, the meeting size allowed us to use a single hotel at that time. Around 800 people out of a total membership of roughly 3,500 attended that conference. The registration fee was $25 for members, $30 for non-members, and $5 for students. The printed proceedings document, as we know, a relic of the past, was approximately 100 pages in length. Obviously, a great deal has happened in the almost 4 decades since the Kansas City meeting. We now have close to 20,000 members from 118 countries, and roughly 10,000 or so of us typically attend the annual meeting. Last year's Africa Conference was our first major event outside of the annual meeting. We now publish 6 journals and offer an ever-expanding set of services to members. This morning, I would like to talk about our Academy and what I believe is its robust and exciting future. I will address several topics, beginning with the perspective that Academy members are scholars, more particularly scholars who are concerned about management and organizations. As scholars, we find ourselves involved with different types of scholarship, which is another of our topics. I'll then suggest that today, scholars, business schools, and the Academy face a challenging world that is characterized by great expectations, increased scrutiny, and significant changes. These conditions can affect our efforts to successfully engage in scholarship. I will then briefly consider reasons we join our association before identifying a few questions I believe face the Academy today. To address these questions, I will ask us to think about what the world would be like without the Academy of Management. Thinking about this will lead to offering a proposed value proposition for the Academy. In doing this, I will argue strongly that the Academy matters and that we are stronger and better together than we are apart. As a final topic, I will suggest that the Academy's future is filled with opportunities for us to continue making progress toward reaching our vision, which is to inspire and enable a better world through our teaching and scholarship about management and organizations. Let's begin this journey with a few observations about scholars and scholarship. The word scholar is somewhat difficult to define. It seems that we all know a scholar when we see one, but we need more precision for our purposes today. Based on formal definitions, we can think of a scholar as a learned person who is committed to fully understanding a discipline. Immersion with the chosen discipline, persistence in and passion for acquiring knowledge and learning how to disseminate it, and a commitment to strong professional ethics in one's work are characteristics associated with being a scholar. I believe that this definition and these characteristics describe Academy members, and that as such, we are scholars. Of course, scholars are engaged with scholarship. Not surprisingly, there are multiple perspectives about scholarship. Andy Vandeman, for example, observed during his presidential address that scholarship finds us striving to create and disseminate new knowledge about research, teaching, and practice. In a recent article, Christine Oliver noted that to her, scholarship is the ancient and noble pursuit of transformational truth. The scope of scholarship has long received attention, both within the Academy and in educational institutions throughout the world. It raises a fundamental question. Should scholarship be defined broadly and inclusively, or within a tight parameter demonstrating at least some degree of exclusivity? Ernest Boyer and his colleagues at the Carnegie Foundation for the Advancement of Teaching argued in what has become an influential book that we urgently need a more inclusive view of what it means to be a scholar and to engage in scholarship. In his 1996 presidential address, Rick Maude strongly supported the call for inclusivity when it comes to defining scholarship. Jean Bartunik, Mike Hitt, Susan Jackson, Rosalie Tung, and Jim Walsh reinforced this view during their presidential addresses. Thus, the need for inclusivity in scholarship and in a host of other issues is an enduring commitment of the Academy. Boyer and his colleagues argued that there are 4 types of scholarship: the scholarship of discovery, or contributing to the stock of knowledge in a domain and to the intellectual climate in institutions; the scholarship of integration, giving meaning to isolated facts by integrating them and putting them into perspective; the scholarship of application, applying our knowledge in useful and impactful ways; and the scholarship of teaching or disseminating knowledge to others. This comprehensive and inclusive perspective contrasts with the narrow view that scholarship is demonstrated by publishing in refereed journals, and more particularly in Class A or top-tier refereed journals. In Boyer's words, according to the dominant view, to be a scholar is to be a researcher, and publication is the primary yardstick by which scholarly productivity is measured. Interestingly, the Academy's publication portfolio meshes pretty well with these four types of scholarship. AMJ's editorial mission is to empirically examine theory-derived knowledge. Hence, the focus is on the scholarship of discovery. AMR and Annals, AMR, which provides a forum to explicate theoretical insights and developments, and the Animals, providing comprehensive examinations of the latest advancements in various management fields, deal with the scholarship of integration. Examining learning processes and issues associated with management education finds AMLE dealing with the scholarship of teaching. AMP publishes work that translates theoretical and empirical research in management's distinct subfields in a manner that makes these findings accessible for scholars outside that subfield. As teaching scholars, we can use these articles to help students understand various managerial and organizational issues. In this way, AMP can have a relationship with the scholarship of application through us. Our newest and all-electronic journal, Academy of Management Discoveries, which will post its first issue in 2015, integrates parts of the editorial missions in that it seeks to promote the creation and dissemination of new empirical evidence that strengthens our understanding of important yet poorly understood phenomena concerning management and organizations. As with our publications, Academy members come in all shapes and sizes, and as such, concentrate on different types of scholarship. Using the Boyer classification, this means that some of us focus on only one or two types of scholarship at a point in time, while others may seek to balance their contributions across all four of them. Moreover, our focus on scholarship typically varies across the seasons of our careers. However, all of these permutations enable each of us to create value through our scholarship. At any point in time, then, our total membership is focusing on different types of scholarship. In our large tent, we want to be inclusive, celebrating and valuing all types of scholarship. Our mandate is to make certain that we as an academy consistently and meaningfully recognize the value each scholarship type creates. We need to do everything possible to support our members' scholarly needs at different career stages, too. Rosalie Tung challenged us in this manner when she said during her address that our academy community should be open and truly receptive to anyone who seeks to generate and disseminate knowledge in management, regardless of our teaching versus research orientation and career stage. Again, as a community of scholars with an eclectic set of scholarly interests, we celebrate each member's contributions. We support the diverse and equally important aspects of scholarship that give meaning to our professional lives. Being proactively inclusive means we offer one another unconditional, positive regard and acceptance. And, of course, excellence is the descriptor each of us once used to characterize our scholarship. However, as scholars, we face and live in an increasingly challenging world. It almost goes without saying that we are living in a time of great expectations, increased scrutiny, and significant changes. These conditions challenge our business schools, the academy, and of course each of us personally in some form or fashion. With respect to expectations, I doubt that there is anyone here this morning who feels that less is expected of us today than has been the case historically. Scholars are examining this issue. For example, citing published work, Christine Oliver recently observed that numerous studies have shown that faculty members in institutions everywhere are facing significantly increasing workloads and expectations, meaning that we now encounter an overloaded plate of scholarly responsibilities that has not broadened but has increased as well. Results from a recently completed survey of Academy members found that the most common career obstacle we deal with is role overload. Angelo Denisi and Andrew Pettigrew note that the demands on business school faculty have increased dramatically and are often in conflict with each other. There is more pressure to publish in top journals, and more pressure to publish in a specific set of journals. At the same time, there is more pressure to perform well in the classroom, more pressure to generate funding, and more pressure to develop courses, research programs, and even curricula that are more socially conscious. Overall, then, it is clear that today more is expected of scholars. We can discuss these increasing expectations with fellow Academy members to identify various ways to successfully deal with them. Increased scrutiny from the external environment and internal forces challenges our scholarly legitimacy. Jim Walsh joins some others to argue that increased scrutiny is leading to something of an audit culture, if not an audit regime. Jim sees audits in a positive light, saying that they provide evidence of society's deep interest in what we do. His view may indeed be correct. Regardless of the reason for audits, the reality is that they generate additional scrutiny of a scholar's work and the institutions supporting it. Examples of external audits include rankings by bodies such as Businessweek, Financial Times, The Economist, the Princeton Review, and U.S. News and World Report, to name a few. Some rankings focus on faculty research productivity, while others are concerned with perceptions of teaching effectiveness. Student evaluations of our teaching are an example of an internal audit. In many educational institutions throughout the world, the weight placed on these audits is increasing. In some instances, we are now audited by customers, a term increasingly ascribed to students. I agree with Jim March, whose take on this matter is that students are acolytes, not customers. Although difficult to predict, I find it hard to imagine that the degree to which our work is scrutinized or audited will be less intense, certainly in the foreseeable future. Universities and business schools worldwide face significant changes that affect our work as scholars, including the type of scholarship we complete and how it is assessed. Some of these changes have roots in the external environment, while others originate internally from within our institutions. Changes in the external environment include those of declining revenue from key sources. Across the globe, the funding of universities is changing. Some British universities, for example, are turning to the bond market to deal with government funding cuts. A proposal that may take place or in effect in Australia in 2016 would cut government funding per student by an average of 20% across the board. In parts of Europe, discussions about how to make public funding of universities effective and legitimate are ongoing. A recent report suggests that in the United States, state-level funding for the University of Colorado at Boulder now accounts for 1% of its total revenue. This percentage is 10% or less for universities such as Iowa, UCLA, Ohio State, University of Pittsburgh, University of Washington, Penn State, Michigan, and Virginia. Reputational contests that are products of the rankings by groups such as those I mentioned a moment ago. Of interest here is that on a worldwide basis, many business schools overtly emphasize their desire to be a top 10 or a top 20 school. This goal may find schools trying to identify and then focus on the metrics used by rating bodies rather than concentrating on reaching the outcomes that are specified in their vision and mission statements. Concerns about cost among funding sources. These concerns are unlikely to dissipate given the turbulence and uncertainties associated with global economies and the varying perspectives about the funding of higher education. And new entrants, some of whom are using different distribution channels. Examples here include for-profit institutions such as Laureate Education, a 15-year-old privately owned enterprise that now operates in 30 countries and approximately 80 different higher education institutions, has over 200 physical campuses, and enrolls over 800,000 students in degree programs in accredited institutions around the world. Knowledge-based consultancies such as Deloitte, McKinsey, and PricewaterhouseCoopers, whose work increasingly overlaps with our scholarly efforts, with the reverse being true as well. One astute observer of this phenomenon wrote recently that just as consulting firms are venturing into the executive education arena, some business schools are delivering services traditionally offered by consultancies, such as organizational change management, development of coaching skills, and strategy development. MOOCs, massive open online courses, which are free or low-cost digital educational alternatives that some universities believe will either cannibalize their business model or, more positively, attract students for whom traditional higher education models do not work. Platforms for delivering these courses exist in countries throughout the world, including Finland, France, Germany, Indonesia, Ireland, Malaysia, and the United Kingdom, to name a few. Coursera, edX, and Udacity are popular and well-known platforms in North America. In 2013, over 10 million students worldwide enrolled in a MOOC course. This enrollment number is vastly larger than the 1 million student registrations that took place only 1 year earlier in 2012. We also face changes within our institutions that are challenging us today. They include increasingly intense discussions to determine the most appropriate promotion and tenure requirements. What is the role of teaching versus research in making these decisions? What is the relationship between counts of published articles versus an assessment of the quality of each publication? How should a scholar's ability to influence managerial practice be weighted in these decisions? With respect to the Boyer classification, what metrics might we use to assess performance and what are their weights? What is the appropriate length for the tenure clock? Product diversification. Many of our schools now offer an increasingly diverse set of programs: EMBA, PMBA, full-time MBA, part-time MBA, evening MBA, PhD, and executive PhD, in addition to undergraduate offerings, are examples of the product portfolio many management faculty now serve. Issues here include the degree to which scholars require unique teaching capabilities at different education levels, how we can develop those capabilities, and the effect of diverse teaching responsibilities on efforts we may devote to other types of scholarship. Research relevance. In Christine Oliver's view, another constant we face is the constant pressure to produce work that is more accessible. Angelo Denisi notes that some critics claim it, our research, is irrelevant, and some claim it is actually harmful. I will say more about the relevance of our research in a few moments. The point here is that the research relevance issue remains a hot topic that is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. Changing composition of faculty positions. Traditionally, faculty positions in higher education institutions have been filled predominantly by full-time, tenure-track scholars engaged with some combination of different types of scholarship. Today, we are witnessing a rapidly growing group of contingent faculty who either work part or full-time, usually assigned to a non-tenure track position. The work of contingent faculty is oriented primarily to teaching. Contingent faculty used to be rare in Western Europe and the United States, but this is no longer the case. In the United States, for example, more than 50% of all faculty now hold part-time appointments, while 70% of faculty are part-timers in Latin America. The change in the composition of faculty surfaces questions about issues such as pay, teaching loads, performance expectations, and so forth. Moreover, this compositional change finds us seeing different people in the hallway on a day-to-day basis, a fact that may affect our historically collegial culture. And now, the so what question with respect to the Academy of Management. Stated simply, the conditions we have considered, great expectations, increased scrutiny, and significant changes, mean that the world the Academy faces today is different, perhaps dramatically so, from what the association experienced in the past. In turn, this reality finds us thinking deeply about the Academy and how it can continue creating value for us as members and for those we serve. After speaking a bit about reasons we joined the Academy, I will talk about why I believe the Academy matters to us and to others, and suggest a value proposition to demonstrate how this is so. I joined the Academy in 1975 as a PhD student. Being a member of the Academy demonstrated our seriousness as management scholars and our commitment to the field. We took our membership seriously, and we were serious members, as is the case for members today as well. We looked forward with great anticipation to receiving printed copies of AMJ and AMR through the mail. The Academy published only 2 journals at that time, and AMR was new, with its first issue distributed in 1976. We also were excited to attend each annual meeting so we could visit with friends and colleagues from around the world and share experiences that had occurred during the previous 12 months. This was also an exciting cross-cultural time because the Academy's membership from outside North America was starting to visibly increase. Another attraction was the fact that individuals from all of the management domains attended the meeting. Given my focus on strategic management, this meant, for example, that I could attend presentations by well-known OB and HRM scholars, among others. After all, back in the day, I could not watch these people on YouTube. Part of the personal excitement of being an Academy member during this time period was contextual. By this I mean that our professional lives were so entirely different in the latter part of the 1970s and early 1980s. During this time, we used rotary telephones and wrote handwritten letters that we trusted to the Postal Service to communicate with colleagues in other institutions. Many of us used IBM Correcting Selectric 2 typewriters to create our own manuscripts, exams, and letters. Introduced in 1973, this was an awesome typewriter that lived up to its advertising hype, which I quote, "The machine's lift-off tape allows the typist to lift typing errors literally off the page." At the time, of course, we thought nothing could ever be better than the Selectric 2 typewriter. The point here is that membership in the Academy provided a conduit for scholars to connect in ways that supported their scholarly efforts. This is the case today as well, but how we connect has changed dramatically. The Academy now enables interactions among us on a 24/7 basis through platforms such as Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, and YouTube. But there were other reasons we joined the Academy years ago, and I believe they are still relevant today. Let's consider 4 of these. Bounded rationality. We know that when making decisions as scholars, such as how to most effectively assess the work of student groups or how to select an appropriate tool to analyze data, our rationality is limited by the information available to us, our cognitive limitations, and the finite amount of time we have to make decisions. Interacting with Academy members can help us mitigate the effects of these constraints and make more rational and perhaps better scholarly decisions. We are givers. Scholars draw from existing knowledge stocks to select insights and understandings to use as foundations for scholarly teaching, to inform managerial practice, and to specify research questions. We are givers as well as takers, though. We adhere to a norm of reciprocity in receiving from and giving back to our common body of knowledge. This interactive process continually enhances our collective ability to investigate and understand management and organizations and to successfully disseminate that knowledge to others. We are volunteers. The Academy's core work is completed by volunteers who willingly give their time, energy, and insights to collaborate with others. Editors, editorial board members, those leading professional development workshops, and delivering papers and symposia during our meetings, as well as those accomplishing hundreds of other Academy-related tasks, are all volunteers. Academy members care about the broad and often invisible hallway that each of us walks on our scholarly journey. The Academy provides us with a virtually endless stream of opportunities to serve others and to better understand ourselves as a result. Thus, through volunteerism, we see a collective spirit in action. Collective inspiration. Our extensive volunteerism collectively inspires us. Observing what others accomplish through their work as Academy members reminds us of the potential we all have to create value by engaging in the 4 types of scholarship. And we continuously nurture each other to reach that potential. As a living organization, the Academy of Management faces a constantly changing environment, an environment influenced by external and internal conditions that we have considered this morning. As implied earlier, a changing environment may influence some to wonder about the Academy's place in today's world. Because of this, now is a promising time to think about the Academy's value proposition and its relevance in this dynamic, confusing, and uncertain academic world in which we live. Questions for us to consider include: why should I join the Academy given that I can obtain the journals through my library? Why should I go to the annual meeting instead of attending 1 or 2 smaller, boutique-like events? Are professional associations such as the Academy of Management relevant in today's environment? Does the Academy help me develop skills for effectively engaging in the scholarships of discovery, integration, application, and teaching? To consider these questions as a gestalt rather than individually, I want to ask each of us to think about what our world would be like without the Academy of Management. What if we did not have the Academy as a collegial community that enables us to inspire, nurture, and support each other as we grow as scholars and create value for those we serve? What if we did not have our portfolio of publications? What if the annual meeting no longer existed? And more broadly, what if we could not join the Academy and have a chance to collaborate with scholars from across the globe to engage in 4 types of scholarship? Let's first examine the Academy's publication portfolio as we think about what would our world be like without the Academy of Management. By virtually any measure, the Academy's journals are successful. Time does not permit a full detailing of evidence to support this position, but the strong impact factor scores and significant numbers of annual downloads, over 13 million downloads across all publications in year 2013 alone, highlight the influence of our publications on scholarship. As suggested earlier, these journals provide information and insights about all 4 types of scholarship. In addition to published articles, another way this happens is through the debates and dialogues appearing in some of the journals. Don't we all benefit from published debates, such as a recent one in AMLE, that addressed the relevance of our research for managerial practice? What if we did not have the From the Editor's columns in the journals to stimulate our thinking about issues such as one that appeared in AMR this last issue about the relevance or the future of publishing management theory? But do we need traditional journals today? More directly, what is the future of traditional journals in an increasingly digitized world? Jerry Davis wondered about these issues recently as well, asking if the format of traditional journals is out of sync with the rhythm of how knowledge is produced today. In a compelling essay appearing in ASQ, Jerry concludes that the unique review process is at the core of why traditional journals still matter, even in light of today's distribution channels. What if the Academy disbanded its publication portfolio? Wouldn't the 2,350 manuscripts that were submitted to our journals and during the last year alone be sent to one of the other 170-plus business journals that exist today, and that's compared to 61 business journals in 2001? The answer, of course, is probably so. But I believe the success of the Academy's publication portfolio is largely a function of intangible and difficult to imitate competencies. In this sense, our review processes are unique, as are the routines we use to select editors, form editorial review boards, and govern the operations of the journals. It is this intangibility of all of this that has evolved across time and events that makes it unlikely that others could duplicate the value created by the Academy's publication portfolio. What about the degree to which the research published in our journals influences managerial practice? Is our published research leading to the type of relationships we want with practitioners? Some would answer no to these questions. But there are basic underlying issues here. First, scholars and business practitioners operate through different conceptual models. As noted in different publications, academia operates under a model of the commons, where information is shared openly and ideas are discussed freely. Validity is valued, that is, not all ideas are equal, and issues and answers are often very complex. Businesses, on the other hand, operate under a model where secrecy is valued, there is an emphasis on results and utility, and leaders need answers, not ambiguity. Neither model is right or wrong. They are simply different. But these differences highlight why the research relevance issue is so complex. How might we proceed? Carl Weick suggests that the relevance problem is not that all academics will not set aside their disciplines and begin to work in a transdisciplinary manner. The relevance problem is also that practitioners will not set aside their fads and begin to work with fundamentals. This position calls both parties to action. Recently, Jean Bartunik and Sarah Rines argued that the gap between academics and practitioners creates a tension that represents fundamental, unresolvable paradoxes, however, that can be generative of new research and practice if appreciated as such. Yes, the road to better inform managerial practice through our scholarship is challenging. But again, I ask, what would the world be like if the Academy did not exist as a society that is committed to traveling that road with practitioners? As a large international association of scholars, we bring scale and scope to the relevance issue. Continuing to meaningfully address research relevance within the context of managerial practice requires a commitment of time and focused energy by both scholars and practitioners. I think the Academy is and will continue to be a strong, dedicated, caring, and professional partner in these efforts. The annual meeting is large, diverse, and sometimes difficult to navigate. Partly because of this, we as members are calling for the Academy to host smaller, boutique-like meetings, such as the trailblazing and very successful Africa Conference. I still believe, though, that a large, eclectic meeting that includes professional development workshops that have the potential to lead to new, productive collaborations, paper sessions through which we learn about new theories and research, and theme committee activities such as the Teaching and Learning Conference creates value for us. Without the annual meeting, we would also lose a convenient opportunity to think collectively about work that we might undertake in light of the individual themes associated with each meeting. The informal economy was the theme 2 years ago when I had the honor of serving you as program chair. Since that time, several special issues of journals have dealt with that topic, some conferences have been held, and a number of articles have been published. I look forward to seeing what transpires in light of the Power of Words theme for this year. And if we could not come together each August, we would truly miss chances to rub elbows with incredibly diverse and interesting colleagues from across the globe. These social interactions alone provide significant value. In reality, the Academy's challenge is to find ways of maintaining a value-creating annual meeting with scale and scope, while developing a sustainable model for offering smaller conferences as well. The Academy offers categories of services, including those related to remaining informed through the journals and the newsletters, expanding our network of relationships through subscriptions to listservs, discussions, and AOM Connect, enhancing our capabilities as scholars through the annual meetings, events, and activities, and access to resources concerned with the Academy's Code of Ethics and teaching, and participation opportunities. Volunteers are always needed for many tasks. Overall, the Academy remains committed to continuously enhancing member services. After considering the world without the Academy of Management, I want to strongly and passionately suggest that the Academy matters and that the Academy creates value. The Academy creates direct value for members who in turn create value for others through their engagement with different types of scholarship. So what is the Academy's value proposition? A meaningful answer to this question requires deep and widespread dialogue among all of us. Nonetheless, I offer the following as a starting point for the conversation. The Academy of Management, supporting scholars, producing scholarship, bringing scholars together from across the world to collaboratively create knowledge, bring perspective to isolated and disparate facts, creatively apply knowledge in impactful ways, and actively disseminate knowledge to others. Is this a viable value proposition for the Academy of Management? Perhaps, perhaps not. Given who we are and how we operate, formal development of our value proposition will be a product of our collective effort and will. I am confident in concluding, however, that the world without the Academy of Management would leave a huge void for scholars and for those who benefit from our scholarship. Now, a few words about the Academy's future. I hope that the proposed value proposition captures the Academy's spirit and how it strives to serve its members directly and many others indirectly by supporting and enabling our 4 types of scholarship. As a living organization, the Academy will always be a work in progress, and thankfully so. And exactly who is the we of the Academy of Management? It is you, it is me, and it is all of the members who are not with us today. We are the Academy, and we own its future. We will make mistakes as we collaborate to be better and better in the years to come as we pursue various opportunities. But we will persevere at all times as we create value and pursue our vision. In this regard, I share Jim Walsh's view that our best days lie just ahead. Let's work together then to make tomorrow our best days. Let's commit to one another that we will steadfastly ask important questions, dare to care, seek to be ambicultural to reach all of our potential, be passionate, persistent, and open to diverse ideas, reaffirm our commitment to scholarly values, nurture and support each other without reservation, continue our quest to be a fully engaged Academy at all times, and remain committed to serving others. And most importantly of all, let's remember, this is our Academy, this is our future. Thank you very much for being here today, and thank you for the opportunity to serve as president. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.